This isn't from an animation studio. I did not use any expensive software. This is drawing I made and turned into an anime ending with the software Davinci Resolve. And with a technique I knew sort of, but I was not much aware about, and I thought only it was really done with studios, and I didn't know you can just do it on your own. Let me show you how I went from just participating in one art challenge with a group of friends to me ended up creating an emotional anime style ending while all learning this off the fly. So before the challenge happened, I of course was always like very headstrong, very determined, very developed. Wanted to always continue improving my art, especially given because I wanted to make sure that I fully showed myself as a professional artist, as someone that wants to be paid or it's like a monetized for the work that they do, whether it's their own work or work with clients or companies. I knew I wanted to just try this challenge out and to continue improving my craft as an artist. Now, the main thing about this was that it wasn't just me. Well, there was others also that I knew, other friends in the Discord group that also decided to participate in the art challenge. But particularly, what made me decide ultimately to want to do animated ending for this prompt was just because me being an artist and me being very creative, it just sparked in my mind like, oh, I have to do this. I can't just do the illustration only. I have to push it for an animated with the things that inspired me, the things that made me want to be an artist, that made me want to tell these kind of stories and things of that nature because of the medium and everything. So for me, this wasn't just doing a contest or anything like that. This was me continuing to level up my craft and to continue on that journey for improvement and that journey of being able to know I'm better each day. For me to be able to say like I'm a much better artist than before, and for me to reach my goals and to achieve what I want to achieve. So the character Alexander, who I'm using for the prompt, his story just actually came out of nowhere. Actually, when I originally designed Alexander, now like almost very much going to be 8 years ago, he just started as a horror me trying to get better at males, at men in general. At the time, I only really draw females because, of course, I'm a girl myself, so I only latched on to drawing girls. And my previous attempts at male characters were just trash, were not really appealing, and just maybe not want to draw them. But I knew at some point if I wanted to draw them, I had to just take the chance, take the plunge, and attempt to learn how to draw them better. And that's how Alexander started. But then he became so much more as I continued to draw him over those years. I knew he had a story in mind that I wanted to tell, a story that was brewing to be told, a story that started forming about revenge, that deals with pressure and trauma, and just breaking free from that said trauma, which is what I wanted the animation to convey very heavily. Like he's metaphorically carrying something, not physically, but mentally. And I knew I wanted to further do that by going through the process of compositing. And by learning with a tutorial from users who used the Davinci Design, I was able to do that. But now, pretty much throughout that process, I had to first figure out how do I do that. I know Davinci can do compositing, but I don't know how to go about it. So, well, how do I do that? Well, first things first, I relied to the old tomes, the old sources. I looked around on YouTube. There are so many plethora of creators on YouTube, and I went and hunt for any tutorial that I thought was good enough that would show me how to do compositing and that would help me to get what I wanted in the results. Now, I wasn't really as frustrated. It was more like trying to piece together, like trying to trust the process and seeing it come out in real time. Luckily, the person that I watched pretty much was just also kind of using similar colors and getting similar vibes, so I was able to piece one and one together. Given I wanted a melancholy vibe, I knew that I'll be able to get the effect I wanted by following him and playing around with the shadows and tits in his setting. I definitely feel like there's a lot more I can do, definitely, if I continue to mess with the setting, even push it further. But this was good for the attempts that I needed from the video and from the results that I got from watching that set creator. And once it all clicked, it looked like how I wanted it in my mind. The film just so was already fine as it is, and I already rated it, but the composition pushed it so much more. By adding those certain tints and shadows, it fully compressed the feeling of the sad and melancholy vibe that I wanted to be shown from Alexander's positioning. Hutcha view, the Hutcha vibe. Oh, let me not even get just from that moment as well. I knew it just had to be done. And if you're like me and you grew up on those Asian anime 90s like I did, I wanted it to have that even strong retro vibe. So I had to get those tools that I needed. Those yellow overlays, those static noises, and this retro font that Davinci has built in that was like just perfect. That just was like just like that snap, like just locked into place and just setting up some endings for the right credits I want to use just reflective if it was actually being aired on TV at the time. And I know I did convey that vibe because I was told by another artist friend. So I'm really happy that they came up across. Now, you're probably wondering, how did I went from this to this and what allowed me to go through this and this? Like, what did I do? Well, first, I wanted to figure out what kind of vibe I wanted, which again I did. But then I needed visual examples, of course, to help me bring this video as well as the illustration together. So I ended up gathering from anime that I remember watching, anime that I enjoyed, that had this kind of not the same vibe, but the same kind of feeling that I wanted for my illustration of Alexander, huddled up and in a fetal position. So I pretty much have these anime here that inspired me for that effect. And they're not in any order, but we have this ending from the anime known as Sayuki, the classic one. From the second ending that I used, I felt this position also reflected what I wanted, and even set into one mana as the full mono, Panic Victory, Invincible Victory was another one. Just looking at clips or endings that fitted the whole vibe. I wanted him being huddled or being closed off or being like just deeply tightened with himself, regardless of the vibe or feeling that it felt. And those were the two like biggest influences that I had to use just because again it felt like those worked the best for the feeling I wanted. I also took from that Strings of Sayuki to do taking a grunge texture just because again I felt that fit for the background and adding on to that moment of the mirror clipping of cracking clipping behind Alexander as he's on the ground and then highlighting the right shadows and details and everything. And of course, because I'm trying to make it more precious as I can be and make it less look like it's just an illustration, I had to go with that text or noise and grain, which was oh so special to use. And that didn't take much time at all. The only main difficulty challenge that I had to deal with was just figuring out how I wanted to lay it onto the video without impacting the video. And just getting a random noise texture and putting it on top. And then using one of the many Davinci layer effects, a multiplier, and that pretty much got what we wanted in the end. And now, as you can see, this is how it ended up looking. I have exactly the vibe that I wanted, the retro feel that I needed. Of something you can see as if this was in the early 2000s or maybe late 90s. But I knew that this was very awesome and very helpful to do. And it allowed me to kind of express my creativity in another way that I didn't know was needed. And pretty much I was very satisfied with how it came out. And knowing that, I can actually do compositing. I also need to continue doing it if I want to get better at it and if I ever want to do more again. Because I definitely will want to do something like this again in the future. And if Alexander will see this, he'll be very impressed as well. Because he'll feel like more like a real man, oh boy. So I'm very glad on that as well for how the animation tied along together. Especially, I only did this in a couple of few hours. Yes, I did not do this in just like immediately like, oh, it took me like a week to no, I did this within a few hours, a few couple of days after I did the illustration. I had to do this whole animation. My mind was like, oh, we gotta go hard. We can do a static image, make it pop, and it didn't work because I won the part of that challenge, and I ended up winning the whole thing surprisingly, which I wasn't so surprised to even think I would get that because of how everything was. I just didn't believe I was gonna get that. So I'm like, so everything did pay off. I was satisfied. I had this nice, awesome anime ending that I made, and I won that challenge for that period, as well as the whole thing in the end. But it allowed me to further show my animation side. Another type of animation to me apart from my 2D rigging, even with compositing a still image and giving it effect. So now, if this has inspired you to turn your own art into something bigger, drop a comment below. Tell me what you're working on, and if you want to see more Alexander's story, you can read issue 1 below, as well as my other manga, Freedom. Until next time, guys, see you soon.